Okay, guys. So again, I'm just turning on the recording here because I got an interesting line. This Danish Gambit line. We just played these moves, and I took the pawns like in my old video. It's been a while since I watched my old videos, so we'll see if I remember the lines. Okay, so we get this knight c3 line. So there are potential tactics on c3. If he plays for e5, I play d5, and we're gonna get some crazy stuff here. I have to periodically watch my own videos here. I don't even remember looking at that line. Okay, so why not? Can I just take with the queen? Queen takes, pawn takes. Is there some tactic on f7 maybe? Probably falling for some tactic. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I didn't even look at that line. Or maybe I did quickly, and there was some better refutation. So, I mean, I assume he doesn't want to trade queens. He does have this awesome attacking formation. I have to definitely got to recognize that. I have potential checks here. Like queen e5 check. If he doesn't block with the queen, then check takes check, and then either really displacing the king on f1 or doing some other craziness. But of course I gotta watch the pin here too. I could just castle and try to get the rook over to e1. So if he moves the queen, I guess probably b3 makes sense. I'm protecting the bishop here though, so I don't lose a tempo. But anyway, queen b3 probably makes sense because it puts pressure on f7, keeps an eye on my bishop, and also keeps an eye on c3. So probably in that case I'll just castle. Then maybe he'll play like knight f3, and there, I don't know if the rook check does anything. Well, actually it does, because he might have to drop the bishop back, and if he has to drop the bishop back, I could play bishop e6 there, hitting the queen on b3. So that's something. Where else can he move the queen? I mean, he can play check here. If he plays the check, just bishop e6. Wow, okay, he's going to let me trade queens. So I guess that I should, although he does have his bishops out and everything too, so I'm up 2 pawns though, and I'd like to reduce his attacking chances. So I'm going to castle and see what we can do here. I mean, he's still going to get pressure. Okay, so bishop g4, probably just f3, but if f3, then I have a checking square. But should I bring my knight out first? I'm going to see if this is a useful weakness. Oh, actually, he can play... I really should calculate. Just play rook d4. In that case, I'll probably take to avoid loss of tempo. He gets the bishops, which is a little annoying, but yeah, I don't want to lose time. Okay, so I'll take that, and... oh, actually, maybe he had an intermezzo check there. Yeah, see, this is why I can lose this game so fast. Yeah, just see, check takes, but then he doesn't have time to take my my other bishop, so it was working barely. Maybe even post this up on a better square. And unless he wants to take with the rook here, then knight to d7. Gotta be careful. I mean, yeah, his pieces are more active. His bishops are very nice. He should be able to do something to, like, at least mess up my pawn structure or get a pawn back. Just utilizing different pins and tactics and things like that. But first things first, I guess maybe he'll move the rook back. Knight b to d7. Did I say d2? d7. Then with ideas of maybe playing the knight up to, okay, so maybe he wants to play this back. Bishop here. I'm still defending this square with the knight, and if he takes the knight, I take back with the other knight. And I can actually even play g6, which looks a little sketchy, but I could also actually on bishop d3. Okay, yeah, moot point. So where does he want to go with this? I want to try to get one of his bishops. He might be trying to get my other bishop, which I don't know if I can protect both of these squares, so maybe just knight e5, trying to be pesky. Hit his bishop and then move it over to g6. It's protected by my bishop. Just cover up some of these diagonals that are getting hit here by the bishops. The rook is a little bit low on squares. If he goes back to h3, I have a fork. And then actually I might even be able to do something else. Let's see. Yeah, so I've got this fork. And then, okay, well he can play over to f3 just to, I mean the bishop is covered. Anyway, I want to get rid of one of these bishops, so I'll do this. Yeah, if he plays here, that's what I was thinking. I might have knight d5, which is kind of interesting because, like, I'm not going to win his bishop anyway because it's covered by this knight, which it looks like he almost didn't see. But I like getting out of this potentially doubled f-pawns. So maybe win another tempo here. Get out of that potential thing here. Although, we'll have to be careful now because he can go back over to g3 and then he's looking at g6. I can take this with check though and play g6, which is probably helpful anyway because it'll keep the knight out of f5 very well. Not immediately, but well, actually the knight would have to take back here, so. All right, this knight is actually covered, so I can actually hit this rook again if I want. But I'm just gonna, not gonna play around so much. And now I want to get one of these rooks over to challenge him. But maybe there's a better move. Let me see. I mean, he's gonna double, right? So still, it's hard to see how this would be bad trading off one pair of rooks. Yeah, this the pressure that white gets, I mean, lasts for a while. I mean, even into this, end of the middle game, beginning of the end game. Interesting. So, yeah, I was gonna say I'll probably try to go after my bishop here, but I can drop back here and cover this square, and save my bishop at the same time. I also don't have to create a pawn weakness this way. I've got the open file now too. So, some plans now. Yeah, he's getting a little desperate. Make a luft move. He's got to go somewhere sort of annoying. Potentially get rid of his good bishop. But first, when the knight goes back, probably to d4, I guess. Okay, now yeah, here too. So maybe he wants to push here. That also keeps my rook out. Maybe that's why he did that. So I have a couple ideas. One is just to trade bishops, which I guess he won't do. I don't really see how that helps at the moment. I'd like to reroute the knight and also protect these pawns. like knight to f4 and then knight check actually trades a piece. So I kind of like that. I have to be careful that I don't like let his rook down ever and then like pin me, but I got my rook here covering that. Also maybe coming over here to, well, here I get a pin. Alright, let me go this way. I think this is okay. I mean, if he pushes here, I don't think that's such a big deal. Takes. Whatever. He could get out of the potential check, like move the king. Because then I wouldn't want to play this because I would be in a pin. But then I could try to go after his bishop. And his bishop doesn't have a lot of squares. I guess probably could go back to c1 and kind of look at this h6 square in case he wants to push this pawn all the way down. Okay, so takes. And then what does he want to do? He wants to go after my pawns. I'm still going to do this. Okay, so I'm going to protect this first. And I know I'm putting my pawns on dark squares here, but they kind of restrict his bishop too. It's nice to have just this, hopefully just this one backward pawn. So I'll leave that pawn on a7 because it's shielded by his pawn, until at least I try to win his pawn. Maybe I shouldn't be so quick to play c5 because he could try to push the a pawn down the board and yeah, maybe create a weakness. Wow, okay. Well, I was going to say the other... Oh, wow, hold on a second. Check. King h2. Check. Well, then he can either block or he can play g3. Yeah, I'm going to... I mean, I'm up 2 pawns. And it's a same colored bishop ending, so... I should probably try to get these on light squares, right? And also, I like b5 because it stops him from playing a4. So hopefully, I'll be able to get all my pawns here on light squares. I want to give my king a path into the game here. Get him into the center of the board. So I guess my plan will be to try to create a passed pawn here. I don't think he can ever make a pass pawn himself, like with some kind of crazy breakthrough. I mean, probably he can eliminate those pawns. So, how am I going to make this passer? Okay. So if I play a5 here, he plays here, I can still protect with this. The other idea is I could just play bishop here. He's going to end up with a lot of pawns on dark squares, but I think I can start pushing here. Now maybe I should hit this first. Let's just improve the position of the bishop. You can see my terrible endgame skills. So if I go here and he pushes, then he's covering this pawn. I'm not so worried about that. Let's start to advance the pawns where I have the majority. I guess I can just take this. I have to watch that he doesn't like infiltrate or something crazy. Let's just get that off a dark square. And I don't know if I want to eliminate all these pawns, just because at the end I might need to like use my passer to distract him and then go over and win some of these pawns. But somehow I've got to figure out how to improve my position here. Probably have to play bishop back. Okay, this one I'm going to let him take if he wants, because it's a little bit further away. I probably should have done the last one too. Okay. Yeah, probably should have let him take on f5 or something. Anyway, it might have ended up being something like this. So now maybe getting my bishop over to e5 to cut his bishop off. But maybe I play c5 first. Yeah, start to advance the pawns makes sense. I don't really need the bishop on a protected square that I can tell. I have the opposition with the king, so I don't really want to move that. I mean, now if he trades bishops, then he's lost, so. Because one idea could be to just get his bishop off this, but he'll play bishop e7, and I've got to watch this pawn. So I kind of like where I'm at now. I think it's time to play b4 and start to advance here. Looking to play c4 and start to create the passer. Yeah, after the game, well, somebody who's better at endgames can leave comments on how I should have done this, but I'm a very, very bad endgame player. Okay, so I think this is okay. Because this creates a really nice barrier with the king in, and oh, maybe I should have played here first. Okay, well, now he's either got to trade bishops or just lose these pawns. So I don't really see. Oh, he can come back, actually. What am I thinking? Let's see. And now maybe here. And if he goes after this pawn, I just push it. Yeah. Now, which one to create? Probably I want my passer on the outside. Well, either way is probably okay. I wonder if it's easier to protect it over here on the B and the C files. Because I'm already on this diagonal. Usually we want your passes on the outside though, so probably I should probably go for that. Time's running down here. Okay, so I could just try to bother him for a second with this. I know he's not going to trade, but I don't want his king coming in here. These pawns are pretty much protected now. So now I can just come over and yeah, it's going to take him a while to win those pawns, so. But I wonder if I go over here, it takes. He doesn't have to take necessarily. He could drop the bishop back. I mean, now if he takes, he's lost, so he's probably got to drop to g7. If he goes to g7, oh, that's actually might even be worse. Yeah, so let's hit this bishop. Got a minute left. Now I'm over to c2, and I'm going to bring my bishop up. Okay. I could try to trade the bishops, but then he wins this pawn. I can just push these pawns. Oh, I can do this too. He's not getting stalemated. So yeah, it was probably a terrible technique. But yeah, let's take a look at that. Oh, I forgot to say good game. Hold on, let me do that first. Trying to do that more, so I usually just kind of skedaddle. Alright, so let's take a look at the analysis now. I got to go back into my archive. And let's check this out. Let's do a deep one. I don't want to do the 14-minute one. It's already about 2:45 a.m., so you don't be playing late night chess here. And yeah, I can never remember if I recommended in my video playing this bishop b4 check first or knight f6. It looks like that's in black and not in gray, so at least according to the chess.com computer, it wasn't a subpar move to play the check first. Yeah, now it's here where it's really interesting on how to respond to this. Yeah, that was I figured that wasn't the best move. But Yeah, because even without the queens on the board, I mean, you look at those bishops, his development is great. He's got all 4 minor pieces out. One of the rooks are connected. Well, of course they're connected because the queens are gone. Yeah, that was a silly move, that bishop g4. We both kind of spotted the same thing. And but he wasn't really able to get so much pressure. But yeah, I think just developing the knight would have been nice, and trying to get rid of one of those bishops. I mean, I think that's my primary goal. If I can get rid of one of the bishops, then I'm looking good. And as it was in the game, I liked getting rid of the light square bishop, because then we had a same color bishop ending instead of an opposite colored bishop ending. Because the opposite colored bishop ending could be harder. Like even up 2 pawns, I might not be able to do it. But yes, I was kind of fortunate that he kind of got his rook a little bit stuck. Probably had a little bit better sequence, but I'm actually not sure how many more squares he really had. So yeah, and playing knight d5 I think was nice, just to like centralize my knight and just make sure I didn't get doubled f pawns, because double ace-loaded f pawns I guess it wouldn't matter too much, because he still isn't really going to be able to create a passed pawn on the king side, even if I have double ace-loaded f pawns, because it's still 3-on-3. At least it's really hard. Maybe he would have been able to attack the weaknesses, unless I could have traded everything. But yeah, as it was, like being able to lock up one side of the board and then just create the passer made things a lot easier. So yeah, I was kind of surprised about this, that he allowed that. I thought he would try to move the king, so at least it wasn't a check, and then he would have the option of moving the knight if he wanted to. But yeah, I definitely didn't want to start losing pawns. I mean, putting them on dark squares is one thing. Yeah, here, I mean, that looked really sketchy. Like, I mean, of course trading's winning. I was just wondering if there was something better, but it looked like after the 2 checks, that I didn't really have anything, and then he would still have his pieces on the board. So yeah, 2 pawns up in a same colored bishop ending, especially if my king is active and he doesn't like have any immediate ways to get back any material, or compromise my structure in some way. Like, he can't even, like, playing a4 doesn't even help him, because I can just support the pawn with the other pawns, and I'm gonna have connected passers. So yeah, I don't think I ever I mean, I'm not really looking at the evaluation too carefully, but I don't think I ever totally blundered up to this point. And yeah, I don't know. I guess it probably didn't matter if I took it or if I left it, but I guess leaving it, then I would have had split pawns on the F and G file, so probably that would have been great. So taking once makes sense, I guess. And I think he should have taken the pawn, I guess, but it probably doesn't matter. I mean, I guess the good thing about playing h6 is if he ever can get his king all the way down in rounds, then his pawn's really close to queening. But I mean, it's just not realistic with his king's gonna have to be back, obviously, to defend, because the bishop won't be able to stop the pawns. The bishop could blockade the connected passers, but at some point I'll be able to organize something similar to the game where I got my bishop, blocking off the key diagonal. So I thought it was nice where I did that like 3 or 4 times to him, but I felt like it made sense each time I did it. Like, I wasn't just doing it. Like, in each case it made sense. Like, I wanted to be on this diagonal now, where I moved here, just because it stops the king from going to a3. So I thought it was good. And then, as you saw in the game, like, just getting over here, and I had a checkmate. Just pushing the pawns there immediately. That's funny. Yeah, I did the the slow but sure way. I missed the mate in 14, which is probably like, getting a queen or something. He's got to give up the bishop and then getting another queen or something. But yeah, if you look at it just went up, but that was the analysis. You saw like two queening moves there. So yeah, it was critical not critical, but it was helpful that I was able to get to c3, just to protect that pawn and keep weaknesses on both sides here. I mean, I guess it's kind of silly at this point, because more of the video was just curiosity out of this opening, because I have actually lost a couple of games in that opening, by the way, just to full disclosure. One of them was a bullet game, and the other one was probably like I've been trying to play some 5-0 games, but I'm just so terrible with my time management. I'm like, like every time I'm like not paying attention, and then I'm under a minute, and I'm terrible with bullets. So putting myself into bullet situations is a really bad idea. But let's see how we did here. So yeah, had a lot of not so great moves, 6 inaccuracies, and 2 blunders. So let's see where I might have even lost the game. I mean, 2 blunders, unless there were I'm missing mates at the end. Well, that might be the case. If that's the case, then I don't really count those. But yeah, you see the average center-pawn difference is really high. These tactically sharp games, I mean, because the computer finds all the killer tactics and finds the perfect refutations of, basically everything. And when you don't find those perfect moves, then you're going to get at least like a good, or I call that like a subpar move, or an inaccuracy or something, and sometimes it's just blunders. So, but yeah, let's take a look here. So, just taking these pawns like a madman, as I recommended in my video. And yeah, so okay, this is what I was expecting, and then I was going to play this intermezzo move, and I was hoping I would get to play this because this is what I mentioned in my previous video. And in another video, I looked at the difference between the knight being on c3 and the knight being on d2. Because if the knight's on d2, then you don't have this intermezzo move. And then you get a variation where like you take on c4 and they take on g7, you have to play rook g8, and you're still much better. It's just that it's a different kind of mess. So, but probably that's better. But yeah, so then here you play c6, and White's point here is that he's going to mess up your pawn structure at least. And yeah, this is a critical move here because obviously I was threatening to take twice on c3. So if you go back here he's got the bishop under attack, and he's got c3 under attack, and that's why this intermezzo move works. Otherwise it wouldn't work. But yeah, it's better for him to lose the bishop here on b5 because that screws up my pawns. So and potentially I'll just lose this pawn even right now. I guess he could take it, but yeah, this is just the computer variation. Well, here, the game is still quite sharp, obviously, so. Yeah, so queen d6, I mean, what else could I do here? I mean, I could take with the pawn, obviously. I could also consider just castling. And pawn takes d7, queen takes d7, or pawn takes c7, I'm sorry, queen takes c7. I'm hitting his bishop. I'm threatening rook e1 to at least be really annoying. I guess he's going to be able to just play a knight over and get castled, but yeah, I mean, that seems like pretty annoying. I guess on queen takes c7, you could move the bishop back to like e2, rook e1, knight f3, and then if I don't have something killer, then then yeah, you can just castle, I guess. So I don't know if I have to give a pawn back. Of course, he didn't want to trade queens, but I thought he would. Oh, excuse me. Too late. I thought he'd play queen b3 or something at least, because again, although he wouldn't have been hitting my bishop, like my bishop wouldn't have been loose. I mean, he might have been able to play like here, queen b3, so hitting f7, castles, then maybe knight over to e2. Even if I play rook e1, castles. I mean, at some point he can play a3, and I might have to decide if I really want to part with this dark square bishop for a knight, which I probably don't want to do. So probably have to bring it back here and lose a couple of tempi to get it back to like maybe to b6, or maybe I want to move the queen and try to get the bishop to d6, try to look at his king side. I also have 2 bishops. The difference is that they're obviously not as quite as powerful, because he's got them already set up on adjacent diagonals and looking pretty nice. So, but yeah, the queen trade, of course, I welcomed. Yeah, this was kind of silly. Silly because as soon as I made the move, I saw they could just play rook d4. So, so what else could I have done here? I mean, I guess there's nothing wrong. I mean, the other thing that I mentioned when I was commentating was just knight c6, just to develop. The thing I like about knight c6 in retrospect is that it would have been nice to have both my knights out and active to try to maybe get at one of his bishops. The thing that I kind of didn't like about knight c6, which I didn't say, was that I kind of wanted to play knight d7 so that I was protecting the knight on f6 with the knight, so that he didn't ever, try to, get those double isolated pawns, which isn't the end of the world. Like, okay, if he takes on f6 and I get double isolated pawns, like I said, he still can't really easily create a pawn majority with that, and he had to give up one of his bishops to do that. The only problem is then he might be able to move his king and play like rook g1, and between the rook maybe coming out, then maybe he lifts the rook, moves it over the h file, plays the bishop back to d3, and kind of tries to target me over there. But without his dark square bishop, maybe I can just like move the pawn up to h6 and try to defend that way. But that's kind of tough, actually. Probably have to get my knight over and my bishop for defense, but that seems reasonable. I could get those pieces over there. But yeah, I think still probably, in retrospect, developing. Another idea would have been maybe like b6, because b6 probably actually would be a mistake, because if b6, maybe he can play like knight d5, so then like hitting my bishop and also my knight, and then if I take here, he takes with the bishop, and then he's looking down this open empty light square at my rook pinned in the corner. I would have to play like c6 at that case, but then maybe he drops the bishop back, and then then maybe it's really awkward. I gotta play moves like bishop d7, or maybe bishop e6 over this way. I mean, it's not the way that I would like to develop, so b6 is no good. But yeah, I mean, I'm not looking at this with Stockfish, but I'm curious to see like what some of the better moves were. So yeah, this was protected. This bishop was protected. I was kind of feeling that it wasn't for some reason, but it's also a little bit sketchy, because at some point, like if he moves this knight and we have some trades, and if he's able to take this knight on f6, then my bishop would be hanged, so I'd have to be really careful. Although in that case, I still would be able to take his knight, but yeah, there's potential combinations if I'm not careful. It's a computer defense against everything perfectly, so they don't care about like putting themselves in like really awkward situations if they know they can get out of it. Whereas like a human player, you're really hesitant to like put yourself in pins and like leave yourself open to something like that, or like tactics that you can see are in the air. Because the thing is, as a human, sometimes you forget about them. Like, it happens to me all the time, where I'll see a tactic, I'll see exactly that it's there, and then a few moves go by and I forget about it, but it's still in the position. So computers don't forget. So yeah, I think saving the bishop. Oh, here, this is computer evaluation. Yeah, I was like, that doesn't look familiar. Okay, so this was the better variation, according to the computer. Allowing the doubled pawns here. I mean, I guess I have two passers. I don't really like allowing those weaknesses, though, too. I mean, it seems like there are simpler ways to win this. I felt like what was done in the game was reasonable, and this whole little sequence here seems pretty cool. I mean, I might have got a little carried away with my knight moves, but up till now, all those maneuvers, like hitting the rook twice with the bishop, everything was looked at pretty favorably by the chess.com computer, at least. So yeah, just getting the bishop out of there immediately so that he's not getting forked at any point. But yeah, this is all pretty nice. Yeah, even this extra knight maneuver. Okay, so I was kind of wondering if I was getting a little bit yeah, and then here actually taking here, not trying to hit the bishop, or not trying to hit the rook again. I mean, because even though my knight's protected here, just like one of the reasons I got my knight off the f6 square was so that it just wasn't being under the eye of the bishop, or not being x-rayed. And so like sticking it back there didn't really make a lot of sense. Plus it might give him a chance to find a better square, although I don't think he has one. But yeah, taking here. If he didn't have a better square for the rook, then maybe repeating made sense for time purposes, but yeah, whatever. I probably would have had to spend more time like making sure that I could do it than I would have been able to use up his time. Yeah, he's trading a lot of pieces here considering the situation that he's in. Yeah, knight f5 probably wasn't anything worth playing just because of that move. And here he just got a little desperate, but yeah, now I've got to look for my king. So yeah, this is a point too where I was unsure what to do, and it was pretty clear that I that was the case. The chess.com computer doesn't say exactly what is the best move here, but I was also considering just trying to trade these bishops. He wouldn't have traded, I'm sure, although he traded some other stuff. But bishop g7, maybe he plays just over one of the other diagonals. Still, I think I have b6 and c5 coming pretty quickly, so he can't really ever do anything on this diagonal. And then I can activate my rook. And I could activate my rook with tempo. Maybe that was a better move. So yeah, knight goes back. Oh, okay, yeah, he kept my my rook out of e2, obviously. Sorry, brain freeze there. But yeah, I was looking at these pawns, because when you have a situation where your bishop is next to a pawn on the opposite color there, and yeah, if you can hit it with the rook, you're basically just you're gonna win that pawn unless he can do something in terms of counterplay during his retreat, or he can defend the bishop or whatever. But it's still uncomfortable, as we saw in the game. So okay, this wasn't a great move, but it wasn't terrible. And I'm surprised the computer didn't like trading here, but one thing I've noticed too is that I like to, when I'm up like some pawns, I really like to try to trade. And sometimes my fault is that I try to do it too quickly. Like I get a little too overexcited about trading down because I know the endgame's winning. And then it can be a little bit tricky sometimes, because you can drop a pawn. Like for example, if I manage to drop the b7 pawn, then these pawns are really weak, and who knows what will happen there. So yeah, you don't want to lose that middle pawn. I think Jerry from the Chess Network likes to call it like the heart of the pawn chain or something, the middle one. Okay, so yeah, I don't think that really, the bishop move did anything, but maybe he doesn't really have a lot of other good stuff. Wow, the computer actually likes that move. But I think that, yeah, here I was thinking like, okay, if I play rook e1 check, king h2, bishop d6 check, I mean, he can just play, if anything, he can just play g3. I don't have any tactics or anything. And he's got this base pawn covered twice, so I just liked the idea of simplifying a little bit here. And I thought b5 was a good move, but there's my endgame skills. I didn't want to play a5 first, and then he could play a4, so that's why I played b5 first, just to stop this move. And then I could move the pawns up that way. Also, h5 might have been interesting, just to stop this pawn from ever trying to come down here to like h6. I mean, I guess another idea might have been just like play bishop c5 to temporarily freeze this pawn, but I don't know. This seemed reasonable. The only other move I could think of maybe is f5, or just like quickly getting my king out. I think I played that next, so probably it was f5 that the computer liked, if I had to guess. So we could take a look afterwards. Yeah, I'm surprised that this isn't, I mean, it's a good move, but I'm surprised it's not a great move. I mean, just taking the opposition with the kings, keeping the king on a light square, getting ready to advance the pawns. But I think a lot of stuff wins here, so luckily I wasn't in a situation where I had to be super precise, because I obviously am not in the end games or at any time. So okay, yeah, bishop d6, I guess just freezing the f2 pawn, at least for now, and threatening to just immediately cut off the bishop, I guess. Yeah, just similar to the game, I guess, except that he never really had his bishop on that side there. All this seems totally reasonable. Better move was g takes. Yeah, I guess one thing about having only one pawn over here is that in the end, when my king comes over, it might be a little easier to maneuver around. But I mean, the difference between those two probably isn't terrible. The computer gives about a 0.9 difference, so I guess it is significant. That's the variation that it gave. So yeah, g5, I don't know. I mean, he doesn't really have good moves, but putting your pawns on dark squares is a bad idea. So just like, it makes it easier, because if they're on dark squares, then I can kind of choose. Do I want to try to win it with the bishop or with the king? Or obviously I can gang up on it. But yeah, it's hard to fault him too much because at this point it's just, we all do that. Like, I just had a few games today where the attack doesn't work and you're just lost and you just kind of are frustrated and you play the rest of the game, but yeah, you're not even caring that much at some point. Yeah. Yeah, okay, here. See, I was thinking about taking with the A-pawn. And the thing I liked about taking with the A-pawn was I just felt like I already had my bishop on the correct diagonal, and then I would be able to march the pawns a little quickly. But then I kind of stopped looking at the idea of just marching the pawns. And I just went about the really super slow way. Yeah, so yeah, the computer wanted to just start playing. I'll just show one, but it's probably going to say like every move. So these are my blunders, actually. I forgot to look above if I had a blunder. Like a real blunder. Now I think the blunders are my missed mate here, and probably this faster mate or something. So yeah, I don't think I had as many mistakes as the analysis initially suggested, at least in my eyes. So yeah, and then he just can't do anything here. Common trick there. So otherwise the king just bounces back and forth and you have to be careful about stalemating him, but you queen the one and then you get your king over here and you queen that way. So it's kind of nice little motif. But okay, I guess this is kind of, yeah, missed me. Oh, this is my other blunder here probably. It says calls it an inaccuracy, but whatever. This is just, the difference between -20 and -13 means nothing. So, all right. So, yeah, I guess I'll have to try to spend a little more time on my own to understand why some of those moves that I made were not so great in the middle game there. But I think we have some good ideas just from looking at it. And yeah, also probably I'll throw it in Stockfish at some point tomorrow when I got more energy and see. But I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll try to keep making videos when I get like lines that I've covered in videos. I think that's really interesting because overall, obviously, I'm not that strong of a player, so I think it's more interesting when I can at least comment on something that I've looked at a lot. I haven't looked at this one quite as much, but like Fried Liver Games and Fisher Defense and the King's Gambit Accepted, things like that, where at least I have some decent ideas in the opening, and then we can kind of see how the opening leads to like a good middle game position, and then we just can kind of see if I can make my way through my own limitations. But yeah, okay, I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you around for the next video.